Coming up on Lawmakers. The state could owe the federal government millions if Medicaid regulators declare a Georgia nursing home plan invalid. The Senate gives final passage to the legislation that would establish Georgia's third sales tax holiday period for school supplies. And the House and Senate come to an agreement on a water management plan. Those stories and more are coming up next.
Live from Atlanta, this is Lawmakers for Thursday, April 1st. Here are your hosts, Nwandi Lawson and Gerald Bryant.
Good evening, everyone. It is Legislative Day 39, and the House and Senate are still in session at this hour.
And you see there a picture of the House with only one day remaining. The House is currently voting to reconsider Senate Bill 516, creating a Georgia streetcar authority. That measure failed on initial try, 47 to 47 in there. In the Senate, they are considering HB 1227, exemptions from jury duty for caregivers and homeschool teachers. So it promises to be a long night for legislators tonight. We're going to have more about the bills that have already been debated and an update on some legislation that passed late last night. But first, the deadlock on the state budget.
Well, House and Senate budget conferees met briefly within the hour to take another try at coming to a compromise on the FY05 budget. It's the first meeting in a day and a half. Senate conferees, all Republicans, had a new proposal to give to the House conferees, all Democrats. Budget talks have been stalled, with House members wanting more money for education and Senate members saying that money can't come from Medicaid. This latest meeting comes in the wake of some disturbing news from the federal government. A nursing home funding device called a bed tax used to leverage federal dollars is being called into question by the feds, and that could cost Georgia millions of dollars. Here's Senate Appropriations Chairman Jack Hill.
That whole program, that whole bed tax program, has been turned down by the CMS, which is the federal agency, the approving agency. Of course, certainly the state is appealing that, and we're not alone. There's several other states that are in several stages of the same operation. But the immediate, of course, fear and the immediate impact is possibly some $85 million in funds we have to pay back the federal government that we have already drawn down, and funding in 05 of possibly $140 million. And that, of course, puts the nursing homes in danger of a cut, or else we have to come up with the funding to replace that. So it's pretty sobering.
I asked Senator Hill if adjustments would have to be made in the 05 budget in order to pay back the federal government if the state's appeal is denied.
I wouldn't recommend that at this juncture. I think the legislature ought to go ahead and finish its work. That's my opinion. We ought to finish our work, balance the budget, fully funding Medicaid as close as possible, give the administration, the governor, time to pursue all the avenues of appeal, and then we could either handle this in supplemental, or if necessary, come back in a special session. But we sure don't need to have a special session just to balance the budget we're in. That is doable, and I'm really intent on pushing the House to join us in trying to pass an 05 budget before we leave here this week.
Now, we still don't know if the General Assembly will leave here this week. Again, the budget conferees met briefly an hour ago in an attempt to break the budget deadlock. At this hour, there has been no adjournment resolution in the Senate or the House, so when will Day 40 occur? If anyone knows, they're not telling.
Legislation to continue Georgia's sales tax holiday another year passed the Senate unanimously today. This 4-day holiday would cost the state an estimated $9.9 million and $6 million for local governments. Senator Casey Cagle went through the details of House Bill 1184.
The holiday will apply to sales occurring between 12:01 a.m. on July 29, 2004 and midnight on August 1, 2004. Of course, the items will be the same that have been there in the past, and it's a great way to show our support to the school children in our state, as well as helping the parents in their purchases during this time.
House Bill 1184 now goes to Governor Perdue.
Representatives of the Georgia Water Coalition came to the Capitol this morning to stress the importance of the House and Senate compromising and eventually passing a water planning bill yesterday. They also expressed their concern about two bills in the legislature that they believe threaten Georgia's streams and river basins. David Zelski joins us live from the Capitol with the details. David.
Well, Gerald, this year's version of House Bill 237 is quite different from the version that was voted down on the 40th legislative day last year. This one removes a section that deals with the selling of water withdrawal withdrawal permits and focuses on creating a statewide water plan, which the General Assembly would end up voting on come 2008.
This year, what we needed was a clean planning bill, and now we have one.
It removes any of the water marketing language that you saw last session, and it's really a clean planning bill. It envisions an open planning process where all Georgians will be able to take part in shaping the future of Georgia's water policy.
The progress that is represented by House Bill 237 is threatened by two bills that still lurk in the legislature that would put the cart before the horse.
What 1615 would do is exempt the Metro District area from interbasin transfer limitations that would apply to the rest of the state. And Senate Bill 460 would have severe negative impacts on the small streams, which are like the capillaries to the system of water throughout our entire state. That has impacts from the headwaters of our streams to the coast of Georgia.
Now, the Georgia Water Coalition gave a special thanks to House Speaker Terry Coleman and Governor Perdue, who says he plans to sign House Bill 237. Reporting live, I'm David Zelski for Lawmakers.
David, what is the status of the two bills the Water Coalition opposes at this point?
Well, Gerald, House Bill 1615 is already on the Senate Rules calendar, but Senate Bill 460 remains in the House Rules Committee.
All right, David, thank you very much.
The Senate today approved a bill raising the age requirement for children's booster seats in cars. The Senate substitute to House Bill 217 had bipartisan support.
Currently, motor vehicle crashes are the leading cause of death and disabling injuries to children in the state of Georgia. And this bill strengthens the current child restraint bill or child restraint law to include 5-year-olds to be placed in a booster seat, which is like the old telephone book that your folks used to put under you. It just elevates you up a little bit and makes it so that the shoulder harness and the lap belt work much more effectively.
Putting aside the partisan stuff that infects a lot of the debate around here and taking advantage of this opportunity to save children's lives.
Senator Joey Brush offered his traditional support for an amendment that would exempt motorcyclists over the age of 21 from wearing helmets.
Debate about motorcycle helmets, whether they're completely safe or not, especially at highway speeds. And I tell you that, and submit to you once again, that the motorcyclists are the best people to make that judgment.
Were Georgia to repeal its mandatory helmet law, Georgia's motorcycle death numbers would increase from 37% to 49%, or an additional 32 to 45 deaths per year during the 2 years following repeal. These are not my numbers. These are numbers that appear on a website that is the Georgia Office of Highway Safety.
The helmet amendment lost, and the Senate did pass an amendment exempting 5-year-olds who are 80 pounds or more. Then House Bill 217 passed by substitute by a vote of 48-2 and now returns to the House.
Governor Sonny Perdue's ethics bill passed out of the House Judiciary Committee today. This version of Senate Bill 517 is different from the substitute passed by the Senate earlier this month, which was drastically altered by several amendments. Lawmakers Jesse Freeman is live with more. Jesse.
Joe, the governor's extensive ethics bill took a major hit when 9 amendments were attached to it on the Senate floor on March 15th. The Senate passed a substitute, but the House Judiciary Committee has worked from the original version to speed up the process as sine die approaches. That's according to the governor's Deputy Executive Counsel, Robert Highsmith, and the bill's main proponent in the House, Representative Rich Golick. The governor's ethics package includes some of the strongest and most sweeping conflicts of interest reform, giving the State Ethics Commission jurisdiction over conflicts of interest. It included a gift ban of $50. Right now, gifts from lobbyists to lawmakers are virtually unlimited. And that package has remained the same. So when the Senate made some changes to the bill that really weren't consistent with the governor's position, we went back to the House Judiciary Committee with the governor's package as introduced.
We have a time limit. We know what we have to do. We've done our due diligence. The committee has done its due diligence, and now it's up to the House leadership. We want a good, strong ethics bill. There are 40 days in this session. We have one more day after this. Our hope is that this bill will go ahead and get scheduled in that day. It needs to pass.
And both Representative Golick and Counsel Highsmith were confident that an agreement could be reached between the House and Senate conferees that would keep intact the primary tenets of the governor's bill, provided SB 517 is put on the House Rules calendar before signing die. That is yet to happen, but of course we will keep you updated. Reporting live, I'm Jesse Freeman for Lawmakers.
Thank you very much, Jesse.
The effort to ban smoking in many public places is still alive. Late last night, the Senate amended House Bill 1138 to include the Senate-sponsored no smoking bill that stalled in the House. Here's Senator Don Thomas.
In addition to that, the Smoke-Free Air Act, exactly as it passed the Senate, is amended onto the bill. It was a committee substitute, and I don't want to take a lot of time with it because we have debated this, and this passed the Senate by a vote of 45-7. I hope we can improve on that vote this time and send it back to the House for an agree. There are 4 amendments. Maybe you've gotten them all by now. And these are simple amendments making it right with the federal laws as far as nursing homes and hospitals are concerned. Another one exempting the Atlanta airport because it's an international airport and they have their own regulations. And the 4th one is one that we had originally agreed involving people working in places of manufacture of tobacco products, allowing them to smoke.
The smoking ban passed with the amendments supported by Senator Thomas. House Bill 1138 returns to the House, and a conference committee is likely.
Well, the tort reform debate ended in the Senate late last night after nearly 8 hours of discussion. Lawmakers Chrissy Thrasher joins us live with more on this story. Chrissy.
Well, Gerald, House Bill 1028 passed through the Senate with a vote of 36-17, but the bill would limit medical malpractice lawsuits. Nearly 40 amendments were presented during the debate. Senator Preston Smith presented the bill and says he is pleased with the outcome of last night's discussion.
In the Senate Health and Human Services Committee, we amended the bill and added a committee substitute which preserved the language of the author, but also added 3 major provisions that would be considered tort reform provisions dealing with the medical malpractice area. There were 29 amendments that were offered to the bill. Of those 29 amendments, several of those had amendments to the amendments. In fact, I know at least one had 4 amendments to the amendment. So we had somewhere probably around 40 amendments that were offered, and we had 7 hours and 45 minutes of debate on the tort reform issue.
But the bill passed without an amendment to provide a cap of $750,000 on non-economic damages. The amendment initially won by a vote of 28-27, but after a motion to reconsider by Senator Steve Thompson,
reconsider putting a cap on the lives of the people of Georgia.
The amendment lost.
I think what that does say, though, is that it will be on the table for the conference committee, and I look forward to talking with all of those members on the conference committee about bringing that back with the bill.
I believe what ultimately will be negotiated out will be something similar to the floor substitute that was offered yesterday, and had it passed would probably be on the way either sometime today or on the 40th day for final passage.
And House Bill 1028 went back to the House where the changes were rejected. The bill has been assigned to a conference committee. Reporting live, I'm Christy Thrasher for Lawmakers.
Thank you very much, Chrissy.
And as we just reported, the House did reject Senate changes to House Bill 1028. Representative Alan Powell said the intent of the legislation was to provide private insurance to small hospitals, those with 200 beds or less, but that legislators with ulterior motives had drastically changed that bill. The House voted to disagree with Senate amendments to House Bill 1028. That vote was 157-0. The measure is now in conference committee. And the House also voted to disagree with Senate changes to an education accountability bill. Representatives Bob Holmes and Carolyn Hughley said that substantive Senate changes to the bill would require review and that blindly passing the current legislation would be wrong. House Bill 1190 has also been assigned to conference committee.
And right now they're getting ready in the Senate to vote on House Bill 1227 that would exempt caregivers and homeschool providers from jury duty. We'll let you know what happened. In fact, they're making that vote right now. That's Lieutenant Governor Mark Taylor, the presiding officer in the Georgia State Senate.
All those opposed to the bill vote aye. Those opposed vote no. The Secretary will unlock the machine. Senator from the 49th, please stand by.
This process always takes exactly a minute. That's how long they have to vote. They ring the bell every 15 seconds. to remind senators in the anterooms and in the hallways outside that a vote is being taken. Again, this is a vote on House Bill 1227. This measure exempts caregivers and homeschool providers from jury duty. Passage would be by substitute, which means the Senate has added its own version of this bill, which means it goes back to the House, and this could be another one of those issues that ends up in conference committee, as so many do in the waning hours of the General Assembly.
On the passage of House Bill 1227 by substitute, the yeas are 43, the nays are 7. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed.
And there you saw House Bill 1227 passing by substitute, returning to the House. And as you saw here on Lawmakers last night, the House voted to add a constitutional question through the November ballot defining marriage. The question will read, shall the Constitution be amended so as to provide that this state shall recognize as marriage only the union of a man and a woman, with yes and no checkboxes? The vote was final just before our broadcast began last night. Here's some of the reactions to the measure's passage, including that of Senator Mike Crotts, the resolution sponsor.
I'm disappointed by the vote. I'm not surprised. We've known ever since the first vote that we were within a couple either way. We beat it on February 26th by 3 votes, and they beat us this time by 3 votes.
The Speaker kept his word about this issue, that he would bring the bill to the floor for a vote, and he even personally went to the Rules Committee and asked that they put it on the calendar. So I thank him for that, and now the people of Georgia will go to the polls in November, and they'll further protect the sanctity of marriage from the activist judges.
It's a disappointing factor that we're going to have to deal with this issue when we got to deal with health care, employment, and other matters, but at the same time, it's a kind of relief to get this issue behind us.
Again, that constitutional question defining marriage in Georgia is expected to be on the general election ballot this November.
Meanwhile, the Senate today passed a bill that could affect the amount couples pay for a marriage license. House Bill 1451 would increase the marriage license fee in the state to $50, but those applicants who complete premarital counseling could purchase their marriage licenses at a discounted rate of $10. Senator Seth Harp says this bill would encourage couples to complete premarital counseling.
House Bill 1451 does the following. It requires marital counseling. If premarital counseling, if the couple participates in premarital counseling, the cost of the marriage license goes down. If they do not, they pay an increased fee.
House Bill 1451 passed in the Senate by a vote of 45-2.
Legislation that would freeze expansion of the unemployment system passed the Senate today. Senator Robert Lamoot, who discussed House Bill 1555 with State Labor Commissioner Michael Thurman, says a new formula is not yet in place, and not allowing this freeze could hike up the unemployment tax rate considerably for employers.
If this bill does not pass, we will have a 100% tax increase on unemployment taxes for every employer in this state beginning January 1st. We cannot afford to expand a system that would force a permanent tax increase upon every employer in this state. You do not do that in dubious economic times.
An amendment to add part-time employees to collect unemployment failed. House Bill 1555 passed by committee substitute and now goes back to the House.
Legislation that allows cosmetology programs to be operated in the prison system passed the Senate today. Senator Brian Kemp gave his reasoning for House Bill 1175.
There's a program now in the Department of Corrections that allows inmates to go through an 18-month course in cosmetology. It's a job training course to make sure that they're ready to go into the workforce when they finish serving their sentence. This bill simply allows and dictates how they will be tested to make sure that they're qualified to do this kind of work.
House Bill 1175 passed 49-1 by committee substitute and goes back to the House.
A bill that would provide reimbursement to ambulance services for expenses incurred by Medicaid recipients passed the Senate Appropriations Committee yesterday. Chairman of the committee, Senator Jack Hill, and the Commissioner of the Department of Community Health, Tim Burgess, explained the purpose of the bill, while Senator Robert Lamute said that he was given no evidence that the Medicaid rates need to increase. First, Senator Hill.
The basis or genesis for all of this is supposedly some sort of agreement that EMS rates were supposed to be tied to what, a Medicare reimbursement rate or something years ago. And apparently it was never written down, and through ongoing revisions it just never happened. And of course this bill was to correct that in code. I think that the department has kind of put in some protections on phase-in and also in case the fees do not cover it.
In essence, it lays out a schedule to slowly, over 3 years, begin to raise their rates to the Medicare rates, and then allows a protection that the funds have to be made available through fees or appropriations.
We don't know whether or not current Medicare Medicaid rates are reasonable or not. All that we're doing is depending upon somebody to say these rates need to go up, as compared to somebody saying, well, maybe none of them need to go up.
House Bill 1720 received a due pass by substitute and now resides in the Senate Rules Committee. Well, legislation that creates a required list of questions for doctors to ask student athletes before they participate in activities passed the Senate Education Committee yesterday. House Bill 1626 is named the Ryan Boslett Bill after the Chattahoochee High School football player who collapsed and died of a rare heart condition during a routine workout last year. Representative Mark Burkhalter sponsors the bill and has the full support of Ryan's family and friends who believe the passage of this bill could prevent another tragedy. House Bill 1626 is currently in the Senate Rules Committee.
State Senator Nadine Thomas is getting out of the race for U.S. Senate and getting into the 4th District congressional race.
For the past 14 years, I have served the people of Georgia in the General Assembly. And after a great deal of thought and encouragement by my friends and colleagues, I have decided to continue serving the people of Georgia by announcing my candidacy for the open 4th Congressional District.
Senator Thomas's announcement comes on the heels of Congresswoman Denise Majette saying she's leaving her 4th District seat to run for U.S. Senate. Other possible candidates in District 4 include State Senators Connie Stokes and Leanne Levitan and Representative Doug Tieper. Already in the race is former Congressman Cynthia McKinney.
Governor Sonny Perdue yesterday appointed longtime Defense and Veteran Affairs Chairman Representative Kenneth Birdsong to the Veterans Service Board. As Birdsong gave a farewell speech in the House, he admitted that he is the source of re-election rumors.
I need to clear up one thing that might be somewhat confusing to some of you. You will find placed on your desk a little package that you see re-election information. Well, this was supposed to be an April Fool's joke, but tomorrow is April Fool, and I couldn't do that.
Representative Birdsong has served the House for the last 28 years.
The House yesterday also honored the man who served as House Speaker pro tem longer than any other in the nation. The Senate defeated efforts last session to rename Augusta's Riverwalk Parkway for former Representative Jack Hill, with opponents pointing to an $8,000 cost to change road signs. Yesterday, the Augusta delegation offered an alternative.
We know, Jack, that people down there will never forget you, but just in case, we've got a sign that we want to put on Riverwalk Parkway, and we'd like to present it to you.
Thank you very much for letting us come today and be a part of this House, which I really feel still a member here. Thank you very much.
Jack Hill served the House from 1969 to 2002 when he retired.
In other news, supporters of the 1956 state flag rallied at the Capitol today. Michael McCollum has more on the story.
The Sons of Confederate Veterans marched from Turner Field to the Capitol today and rallied under the Golden Dome in opposition to the exclusion of the 1956 state flag from the flag referendum on the March 2nd presidential primary ballot.
Gentlemen, let it be our hope and prayer today that our voices will not go unheard, but that the politicians will understand that the people of this state, whom they serve, demand to have the right to vote. on the flag and banner and emblem of our state.
Don Sheldon, division commander of the Sons of Confederate Veterans, stressed that the fight is not over for the 1956 flag.
You had to endure a bogus referendum which did not include the real flag. And after you had to endure that, then some had the gall to say, well, that's it, it's over. Is it over? Can the Chamber of Commerce tell you if it's over? Can the media tell you if it's over?
In the March 2nd referendum, those who voted overwhelmingly chose the 2003 flag over the 2001 flag. I'm Michael McCollum, the Lawmakers.
And the Georgia State Senate still in session at this time, now debating House Bill 1303, which is the perfection of hospital, nursing home, and trauma burn care practice lien. Senator Don Thomas, who is a family practice physician, is in the well.
It is filed after at least 30 days. If there are no questions, I think there may be an amendment. I will leave the well.
No question, Senator. Chair recognizes there is a question. Late arriving question, Senator. Will you yield for a question? Senator 16th is recognized.
Will Senator yield?
Yes.
Senator, would you tell the body, please, sir, when do you have to file this lien?
After 30 days, and I don't think the bill says how long that can stay open at this point.
Well, that's precisely my concern, Senator, and would the Senator further yield?
I will.
Is it not true that the process that you have outlined in your bill or on the underlying bill would allow a physician, nursing home, or hospital to perfect the lien 30 days, 60 days, 1 year, 2 years, 4 years, 6 years down the road? There's no limitation at all in the underlying bill about when the bill would have to be perfected, is there, sir?
I don't think there is a limit on that in the bill, and I would assume it would be within 90 days, 6 months at the longest, but that may need to be specified, and I understand that you have an amendment which I have not read.
Senator, could you point out where in the bill it says that the bill has to be filed within 90 days?
No, I didn't say within 90 days. I said that that was the usual time, within 90 days to 6 months. As I understand, it's the usual time that one would be filed, but I do not see that in the bill.
Okay. In fact, there is no time limit in the bill, is there, sir?
Not that I've seen.
Are you aware,
that's part of the debate on House Bill 1303. Asking the questions there, Senator Seth Harp from Columbus. He is an attorney. Senator Don Thomas in the well. He is a physician.
Well, lawmakers will not be broadcast tomorrow. That is, if the General Assembly is not in recess. If legislators decide to return tomorrow for the final day of the 2004 session, of course, lawmakers will be here with all the latest from under the Gold Dome. And just a reminder for those of you with access to the Internet, you can, of course, watch Lawmakers online. Visit our website at www.gpb.org. Lawmakers is streamed live and archived on our site every night that we're on the air. Again, Gerald, have you ever wondered how to repair worn-out weather stripping? Probably not you, but they have. If you'll want to stay tuned for Ask This Old House, that program is coming up next here on Georgia Public Broadcasting.
You don't let it wear out. That's the secret. That's our broadcast for the 39th legislative day of the Georgia General Assembly. We don't know when day 40 is going to be. Good night.
Good night.